Friends, welcome back to the 8th video in the iPhone app creation tutorial series. Glad you have stuck along with me so far. If you are a beginner and you happen to just land up on this video, my earnest request is go back to the first video of the series, walk your step forward, going through all the videos, and what you learn is how to create an app using the Xcode interface for iPhone. We are teaching you how to make a book tracker app where you can track your books that you're either reading or about to read or you want to read in the future, so that you can create a handy app on your iPhone to keep track of all your favorite books. Okay, so with that, go ahead and click on the Xcode icon. If you recall, in the last tutorial I left you with a question, so let's go ahead and open the book tracker tutorial app and run the application again to showcase where we left it last time. Okay, so as it comes up, you will see the screen with all the required value. We have made the status as read only, so by doing is enabled equal to false in the view did load when the view is loading. And what happened because of that is all of the did begin, did add function, the text box function not calling, because they'll only get called when you go inside. Now since it is disabled, you cannot go inside and this is not called. Just like in genre it is getting called, you cannot call it here. So how do you make it work? By making the enabled as false. So there are many ways to do that. I gave you a hint of using a button as one of the option, UI button, but I'll try to do it a little differently. In this tutorial I'll leave the button to you, and if you're able to do it, post that code in the comment section. If you're not, you can ask me a question, but I'll do it a little differently. What I want to do is I always want to show a table. The initial table that I want to show is the status table, which is the bottom one, and when you go to genre it will come back and show the genre table, but the status one is by default displayed, and every time you go out to the genre it gets displayed again. How do you do that? Okay, so for doing that, let's stop the code, the run environment, go back to your code. And what I want to do is I want to first say that when the view is getting loaded, at that time I have to make, since the table view is all genre array, if you recall last time I showed you that, I have to make the genre array status array. So what I need to do is I have to say genre array equals to whatever you have in the status array. But if you do that, the problem is all of the value of the genre will be replaced by the status array. So I need to preserve the genre array value. So you know there's a temp genre array, and I'll simply put genre array. So what I'm doing is I'm storing it over here. So even if the genre array is getting replaced by the status array, I have the original value of genre array in the temp array. Make sense? Okay, after doing that, I need to make sure the table is always visible. So this line which I wrote before to make it hidden is no longer required. And if you recall, we removed all the constraint. We are drawing the table at the right location using a code piece. If you scroll down, you'll know that that code piece was here, right? The status table where you want. It is next to the status table. This is the one. Go ahead and copy this, and you can copy by selecting and right clicking and say copy, or doing Command C. So I did simply select it and say Command C, go back to your view did load and paste it over here. Should it work? Ideally it should, right? But when I run this, you'll see there's an issue, and let me first show the issue to you, and then you realize what's going on, and then I'll explain to you the entire life cycle of your screen. There you go. So while it has done the job of assigning the right value, which is the status, into a genre array, but it is not properly displayed the way we want it to, like it was happening last time. Why? This is because you have to understand the life cycle of a view control. View did load happens when a view is getting loaded. You want to realign this when the view is all loaded. So there is a function known as, if you type view, it will show you with view did appear. Go ahead and take that. So when after the view is appearing, at that point in time you want to change the XY height coordinate of this. So it will reorient the view of the table in the right form. So remember, these are all lifecycle function. View did load is called first. after the view did load is there, if you have a function view did appear, it will be call next and it will do whatever you want to do there, right? So let's run this now and see if it is working or not. Great, so it works perfect and the function is not working the way we desired it. Why is that? We'll come to that later. Let's go back here, and this works fine, but when you go back here, oops, the entire table is again not visible. This is because there are a few things we need to do when the genre array is getting entered and getting invisible, right? So what is happening first is you have to first make sure your genre is genre. I'll change this to is genre is false, right? Because your first table you're showing is not genre, right? So that should do your first problem solving, hopefully. Let's run it and see if it does the job. So if I click here now, this is perfectly working because the first table is now not genre, and this is what you've told them. But still, if you go back here, though it is displayed properly and this is working fine, if you go out of this, I cannot select my status table again. That's a problem, right? So why? Because if you recall, in the earlier time, we have written in the edit end of the status bar what code to be written to redisplay it back again, right? So let's go and look at the genre did end, edit did end. So genre edit did begin, genre edit did end. So the first thing first, in the genre did, when the editing is ending, the table view is hidden, which I don't want it to be, right? So I want a table to be visible, but I want to show everything that I was doing while the status editing was ending. So I need to make it false, which I did. Then I want to make the genre as false. Then I have to make sure that the right position it is displayed and get all the values out to the right table. So all you do is, since you have already done this, I'm just copying this command X, which is cutting it, or command C, you can copy it as well, and then put it back here when the genre editing is done, right? Okay, I will deal with these two functions later, little later. I don't think you will recall by now, since we are not doing this function, this is not required anymore, but we'll deal with this little later. Let's first go ahead and run this and see what happens. So far this is fine. I'll go back here, this is fine. Go out of this, perfect. It comes here, I can change it to the function I want, right? So this is working perfectly fine. Great, so this is what I wanted to show you, how you can play a little trick with your coding principles. You can get it done. Remember one thing, everything is event driven. Remember one thing, you can play around with different properties to achieve different functionalities. Now, I know that these functions are no longer required. Can I delete it? Let's go ahead and delete it and see what happens. Status editing and did change is no longer required. So I deleted it because they're never called. So if I run it, it should work fine, right? Let's try to see. All right, so come here, come there, and everything is working perfectly fine. It is deleted from here, and you can go to the main storyboard. You can click on the status and see these two functions are still existing here. They are not giving you an error yet because you have not been able to click, but since you have deleted it, the good practice is you delete it from here as well, so that it is a very clean code from your overall standpoint. Brilliant. So far you have successfully achieved the functionality of getting all the book details. What we need to do and learn next is that now that we have all the required value, at least for the screen, how can we go ahead and save it so that next time when I open the app, I have it persisted and show it accordingly. Okay, so that piece I'm going to teach you tomorrow. I want to leave you with one code orientation and organization thing, which is known as remark. It's a very important function. It's important that you put a lot of remarks in your code so that it is easy to read later on. I'll show you a couple of things how to do that. See, all of these are table view functions, right? These three are. So what you can do is put double slash forward slash, and when you write mark and if you put a colon and put a dash, what happens, you get a line right over here, and it very easily highlights that this is a line based code, right? Go ahead and then again write mark, put a colon, and then you say what is this section all about. It's like dividing into section. You can say this section is all about table view functions, right? If you want, let's say this is select, you can write your mark here as well and say that this is, I see that I have not put a line here because I want all the table views to be together, but I'm putting a comment here. This is when, or rather you can say when user selects a row from the table, this is called, right? This way you can, you know, mark, like for example, I can come here, all of these are book name editing text field. You can simply say double marks, mark line, and then you can say, sorry, mark, and you can say all text field functions, and then you can have individual ones mentioned accordingly. That way when you are browsing through here, you can see the section, you can directly jump there and do things accordingly. Make sense? So this is one thing I thought I should let you know as you're coding. There are other ways to put comments as well. You can go for this one line comment, you can simply put, you know, the forward slashes and say this is to check which did select method to call, right? That's what you're doing here, right? So that way also you can give some side comment, and just I taught you before, you can again put a mark here, say all class variables, right? So this way you can organize your code in a much better way, and your readability increases. On your sidebar, you can see that this comes very handy when you're trying to go to a particular section. Hopefully this was helpful. In the next class or next tutorial, I will go into saving, and in the future classes I want to go a little deeper on a table class and show you some cool function of how to handle table in a better way. So until then, happy learning and thanks for sticking along. If you do like, please do give me a subscribe, and please pass this to your friends, your family, people you think who love coding, so that they can learn. Thank you again. Take care. Bye now.